Hey, it's me, Bria, and I'm a lifestyle coach. I help moms reclaim their time and energy. Look at you, taking this moment to recharge. I see you. During the Doulas Bloom podcast, I share tools and resources with my clients and community to spend time with themselves. The key to you living as your authentic self is embracing change and having courage. Your relationship with yourself is the only true constant in life, and observing yourself throughout each season will allow you to always be in alignment with the desires of your heart. Are you interested in joining my one-on-one coaching program? You can book a sales call with me by visiting the link in the description to schedule your session today. Before we get started, I have to remind you of your influence because you are an inspiration. Hey everybody, and happy International Women's Month. I am so excited for this series. I have been hard at work all of February recording with amazing women to bring you their stories. I created the Girl Chat series not only to share the stories of amazing women, but to also create time capsules of our growth. I think it's so important for us to go back and witness ourselves. And through this series, I have created a little time capsule, not only for me, but also for the women who joined me in these chats. We get to go back and witness ourselves in these moments. And I teach my clients and my community to do this on a monthly and weekly level. And so I'm so excited to expand and grow this series as time goes on. It's going to be so interesting to have guests come back on to the series. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If this is your first time here, my name is Bria. I am a lifestyle coach. I host the Doulas Bloom podcast. I am the creator of the Doulas Bloom community, and I am the leader of the village. So I'm so excited to bring you this March 2022 cohort of Girl Chats. I have committed to doing this every year, as last year in 2021, I did a series, an IGTV series of Girl Chats, which will also be shared during this month, that has inspired me to continue to share stories and to have conversations with women about their stories and their lives and what's brought them to this point. So for the rest of March 2022, you will be getting stories from 20 plus women about their stories, about where they are right now and what has brought them to this point. And I am so excited to do this again. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's shared so openly in this series. And I am so excited to hop right into this conversation. Clearly, you clicked on this one because something in the title or the description, or you know the person who's going to be on this chat. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I am so looking forward to our conversation about where you are a year from now, 2 years from now. I'm just excited to have you back for another Girl Chat. But I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to stop rambling and hop right into this conversation because it is so beautiful, and I don't take any of this for granted, and that's why I really had to come in here hot before we even got into the conversation just to share that. And yeah, I'm gushing right now, but thank you so much for listening, you as the viewer who's experiencing this conversation, this Girl Chat, and thank you to everybody who's been on the Girl Chat in its entirety. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm gonna let the Girl Chat go. But if you're interested in being part of a Girl Chat with us here on the Doulas Bloom podcast, let me know. You can go to the description. There's a link down there for you to join the wait list. There's a wait list, y'all. There's a wait list for the Girl Chats because so many people wanted to be a part of this, and I'm just excited because we're gonna have more Girl Chats here in the future. So if you want to be a part of the next cohort, you need to join the wait list. Okay, have these conversations, share your story, share your insights and your gems with the community, and let us know what's going on. I don't want us to hide and think that we don't, like, our stories aren't enough. Like, oh my gosh, I've learned so much from the women in my life, and that's why this series means so much to me. But again, I want to create space for you to enjoy this conversation. And again, thank you so much to everybody who's listening, who's being a part of this series. I am happy that you're here. Again, if you want to be a part of this series, you can join the waitlist. The link is down below. You can go to doulasbloom.com/podcast guest to join the waitlist. So without further ado, it's time for a Girl Chat. It's time for a girl chat.
Enjoy.
Hey, time for a girl chat. It's time for a girl chat. Hey, it's time for a girl chat. Pow. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Do This Woman podcast. It's me, it's Bria, and today we're doing something a little bit differently, as you can tell by the theme song. We are doing a girl chat, and we have Stephanie here with us today, and I'm so excited to see where this conversation goes, and I'm so excited to share all the little gems that are going to be shared along the way. But before we hop into all of that, let's meet our guests. Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm super duper excited to be here and ready to get into it. I'm ready to chat.
Yes, I'm so ready to chat. But before we get into it, I would love it if you could share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do with the community, and then we can hop right in. So, who are you?
All right, so my name is Stephanie. I am a registered dietitian, worked clinical for many, many years, and that wasn't fulfilling. I've always been an athlete, and fitness has always been my thing. Didn't know how to get into it, but now I'm a coach. I help women to find freedom from the scale. I help them to build a lifestyle and a mindset that they can actually keep the results that they create. And I love what I do. Like this is it's my dream job. I'm also a mom of two. I have a 4-year old and a 14-year-old, and back start homeschooling again. And I don't know. I love my life right now. I'm also an older sister, um, and I'm still competitive. I still feel like I'm an athlete in my mind, but it's been very
Yeah,
like a lot of years. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I love that. I love that you shared all those beautiful things. Like, I'm a sister too, and I'm not a mom, but I have two younger siblings, 4 and I think she's 7 or 8. And so, like, there's a second wave. My mom had the two younger
Ooh,
kids, and so
wow.
like the older three, we call ourselves the OG3. We're
Yeah.
all like adults, and so it's like weird. I feel like I have kids, but I don't have kids. But I definitely helped raise them, if that makes sense. But I just love. I'm not a mom. I haven't birthed anybody, but I definitely know what it feels to raise kids ish. I don't know if
That's
that's like weird to say. Um,
well,
I
I
hope,
think my daughter would kind of say the same thing. Like she's very like motherly to
yeah,
my crazy 4-year old.
yes.
And so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, crazy 4-year-olds can relate. My brother is a savage.
Yeah.
Fun times, fun times. But I'm so excited for this chat, and I would love to give everybody a little context of like how we know each other, how we got into this room together. And so I like to do this thing where we do first impressions. And so I'm gonna let you share your first impression of me, and then I'll share mine of you. And yeah, so like we know each other through DL's business program, Five Figure Freedom, and that was like kind of how our paths crossed. But what was your first impression of me, Stephanie?
So, as we were talking earlier, we've never actually spoken to each other, but I've
Yeah.
seen you on coaching calls in the past. And I always thought you were super full of energy, full of life, and just had a light. And I was just telling you earlier, I was binging your content
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram, and I was shook. Like I literally, and I was going over this moment where I get to tell you how what you're posting and like your energy is like the word that came to me was just freedom. And I was just like,
Mm,
I was sweating. And so there's something about that because I feel like I have emerged out of my shell to a certain extent, but like people who are like genuinely like open and like super free, my brain goes into like I don't know. It's like it's almost like a confusion, and it's almost like it's an envy too. And it's
mm,
just like I don't know, it's overwhelming to me.
mm.
So this is my experience of you just recently, and I was like, wow, like I really have to tell her that
Oh,
you're amazing, like literally.
thanks. Thank you. My mom has the same kind of overwhelming feeling as well. And so I can relate to like coaching moms and like just people kind of being in awe of me. And I'm like, that's what I love about coaching moms specifically, because like I remind them of who they were or who they could be outside of the title of being a mom, outside of the title of being a wife. And it's like, you're still a human, you're still a person, and you get to enjoy your own company and your body and just be a woman and whatever that means for you.
And so
So,
I want to ask you, how did you get
okay,
to that place?
how did I get to this place?
Yeah. Or were you always just like that?
I feel like my mom would say I was always like this. I was the disrespectful child growing up, but it was because I was just like, so just I'm gonna do what I want to do. And like when people told me I couldn't do it, I was like, well, why not? And so I feel like there was a bit of that has always been there. But I think a bit of it is also just like my life experience and how I grew up a little bit faster and like took on more responsibility and like still trying to be myself with like helping out and all these things. And so I don't know if there's like a direct line of how I got there, but I do like to attribute it to like knowing what I want from myself. It's like I want to feel good in whatever I'm doing, and how can I support myself in doing that? And so if it makes me more comfortable to sing and dance in the grocery store while I'm shopping instead of having like a panic attack, I'm going to sing and dance so I feel at ease. So I'm not just like shopping and like going through it and then forgetting something at the store because like I have a little bit of social anxiety. I just went to the store with my sister earlier today and she kept walking away from me and I was like, stop it. I was like, stay near me. And so it's just like, what can I do to make myself feel comfortable in these situations? And I think it's so awesome that you shared that with me because I actually took a step away from Instagram in the past, like at the beginning of the year, January, new intentions and whatnot. I was just like, maybe this isn't the space for me, but it's like, I think I just need to find the healthy balance of like showing up and not getting in my head about it. But thank
That's
you.
really interesting. That is really interesting because I would never think that you would say like social anxiety. I don't even go to the store. I get my groceries delivered right to my door.
Yeah, I there's this like moment of like reminding myself that I'm safe and like stretch. Like obviously I was at the store with my sister, but sometimes I intentionally go to the store by myself to show myself that like it's safe to go to the store. Like if you want to, you still can. And I always give myself permission before I even leave the house. Like if something doesn't feel right, you can come home. And
Mhm.
so I'm always constantly talking to myself. And I think that's why I feel so safe being myself because I've created that safe space within myself to be like, I trust me. And I know that with the information that I have today, I can confidently make the decisions for my tomorrow.
I
That's
love
kind
it.
of how I feel about that. I love that you're asking me questions. Sometimes people don't like to ask me questions, but I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. My first impression of you, first of all, I did not know you were a dietitian because you always talk about like health coaching and like I always just thought you were like a physical trainer with like workout plans and things like that. I didn't know that you did like food and like I went to culinary school for a little bit before I dropped out and I was actually going the nutrition route and so I felt like there was a connection there where
Mm.
I wanted to be a nutritionist or some sort of something to do with food science. And so I didn't end up staying in school. I dropped out because of the pandemic and stuff. Yeah, I just feel like that there's a connection there. And I know this is going to sound a little weird, but like I just love the way you look. Like I know you can't really do much about like your physical appearance, but there's something so comforting about your face that I can't really explain it. But like whenever you were talking on the coaching calls, I was always like, oh, I feel safe. What do you have to share, Stephanie? Like, I want to hear. And so it was almost like a really familiar kind of safe space when you were like talking. So I
Oh,
love seeing your face in the room, but
thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm excited to learn more about you through this conversation and hopefully we can get to know each other, maybe be friends.
Yes.
But I would love to hear more about like I always say everything that has brought you to this moment. Like I really just want to leave the floor open for you to talk about like who you are and how you got here. Because like I'm sure there have been things that you probably haven't shined a light on before or something that I don't know or my community doesn't know that you might have gone through. And so this is the space for you to share about like what brought you to this moment, what challenges did you overcome, and like how are you the version of Stephanie that we're witnessing today on February 11th, 2022?
Yes. I love this question. So, grew up in Texas and grew up in a very religious household. So, religion was always a really big thing. I grew up I think most of us, a lot of us, grow up just kind of accepting what our parents say
Yeah.
as truth, even if, I mean, I didn't even think about checking in with myself to feel if it resonated with me or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in the church. There was a lot of like rules. Don't do this, don't do that. I can't do that because of my religion, can't do that because of my religion. So judgment is a really big thing that I've had to kind of work through, and I still have a little bit of an issue. But I bring that up because I kind of had like a separation of, I guess when you really start to grow up and you're like grown,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, because I went to a Christian school, Abilene Christian University. I played basketball. We had chapel every day from 11 to 11:30,
Ooh.
and it's still very regimented. So grew up, lots of rules. As an athlete, you have lots of rules. You got to wake up early in the morning, you got to do this
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like there's always someone telling you what to do. So I never asked myself, like, what do I like, what do I want to do with myself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so graduated from college, went to grad school. In my internship, started dating this guy that I like really really liked, and he asked me a question that blew my mind, and it was, what are your hobbies? And I was like, I have no idea. All I could think of was like, I like to work out. And that, it really bothered me. And I think it bothered me because I did, like, I wanted to be interesting to him, right? But
Yeah.
I think the thing was, it wasn't interesting to me. Like, I didn't like that answer. I was like, okay, come on, like,
Yeah.
gotta be something. So that's when I realized that I didn't know myself. And so I started just doing stuff, like, so that
Yeah.
if anybody ever asked me again what I do, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, I karaoke and I go rock climbing. I wanted, it was the wrong energy, right? But
Mm-hmm.
trying to like figure out like who I was. Fast forward a couple of years, I have my daughter, and as a mom, I really just was like, I don't think I thought about myself for about 3 or 4 years. Everything was just like, what does she need?
Yeah.
And then when I looked up, I was like, oh, okay. I had kind of got my footing, moved, had a stable job, like, I was okay. And now I could figure out, like, okay, who am I and what do I want to do? And so that was kind of my start of like awakening and breaking away from how my parents raised me, and like defining what I like and what I want. And I think around the age my daughter was like 3 or 4, when she started entering into preschool, I had I was confronted with like, because I didn't grow up celebrating Halloween, never had a costume. Then my daughter was going to school, so I had to figure out, okay, she was left out of like a
Mm.
parade or something like that, little kitty parade that they did, and it broke my heart. I was so sad, and I was just like, okay, do I really believe this? Like, am I gonna raise her like this? So that's what happened. Like, I was actually faced with, okay, am I gonna continue this another generation? I struggled, like trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, or
Yeah.
my own parenting style. And I realized at maybe when she was about 5 or 6 that I was like suffocating my child. Like I was dimming her light. She's kind of like you. She has this beautiful light. Like I just see like yellow. She's just like,
Mm.
she's one of the best people that I know. And it's not because I raised her, like God gave her to me like that. And I was smothering that. And so I decided like, okay, I have to be different. So I kind of went on this journey of like figuring out who I was. The guy that I mentioned before, that relationship didn't work out, and I was devastated for many years, like probably about 9 years. I cried every single solitary day to work and home from work.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out how to get out of that hole. So what did I do? I eventually started working on self-development because that was not a part of my vocabulary before. I would go in my closet, I would do my journaling, I would read, I soaked up Super Soul Sunday from Oprah and all of her guests, all the things. And I remember thinking, I don't know what else to do. So I'm just gonna trust that these thought leaders of this world know what they're talking about, and I'm going to dig into
Mm-hmm.
this because I don't know what else to do. I eventually got myself out of that hole. I don't even say that I was depressed. Maybe I was. I have no idea because, how we
Yeah.
are with like labels. But so I eventually got myself out of that hole. And when I just started coaching, I decided to do mindset as well because that is what helped me. And I realized, okay, there's so many people who are trying to create, a healthy lifestyle, but they have so many mindset blocks. And I felt like I could help them because of the new way that I was thinking about life and my own self-efficacy. That's why I coach mindset in my program. So I guess what you're looking at is the culmination of all of that and more, I'm sure, but just someone who's really actively trying to manage my mind, manage my habits, manage my, like, really be the master of my life. Like,
Mm.
I I remember at first when I did not want to be an entrepreneur, I was like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Leave me alone. I just want to be in my comfort zone. Somebody was trying to tell me about like the law of attraction and all that. I was just like, will you please leave me alone? Like, please leave me alone. And so now I'm like, I look back and I'm like, I remember the time when I thought, oh, I can wake up and actually like what I do and be excited about what I get to do today.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I started chasing that, my life started changing.
Mm.
So I was like, I want to be able to wake up and love like what I do. So I absolutely manifested this, like my life situation right now, which really excites me because I know that in the future I can manage, like I'm doing it. And I'm just like, come
Yeah.
on, let's go.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. I love how you said like once you decided that that's what you wanted and you like went after it, that's when like things started kind of snowballing for you. Cause I think that's how it happened for me as well. I was like, I just want to feel good being Bria. Like I can't be anything else. I can't be the perfect daughter. I can't be the perfect student. How can I like be the best version of myself, be the best Bria for me? Because it's like I'm a little woo, but also like my spirit, like religious background is very Christian and like that's what I grew up in. But I can be very like, I am in this body and like this is Bria's body and like my soul is here in this body having this human experience. And I'm just like, it's an honor to be here being Bria with the way that she thinks in this brain. And so it's like I have to do her the best service that I can by like going after what this body is telling me to do. And so it's kind of weird in the way that I just explained it, but I feel like there's some overlap in how like you didn't really understand, but you knew something was off and you just kind of went with it. And like I'm curious to know if like what are your hobbies now? could you
Well,
could you
we're in a
share?
home. I mean, I'm still pandemicing, so I'm at home. The thing about me too is now I'm okay. Like I don't need
Mm,
that to
yeah,
say what to define me or
yeah.
whatever. I love, when I say love, I love being at home. I love being at home.
I believe it. I believe it. You said you get your groceries delivered to you.
To the house, my front door.
Yes, I am a homebody as well. I probably wouldn't leave my home unless I had to. And I usually go out for like groceries or to go to work, but I could stay at home all day. If I had a nice little backyard situation right now, I'm in this like apartment, but like if I could like be on my own property, I would never leave. I would never leave. So like I can definitely understand
Yeah,
that.
I have to find a reason. I mean, the only place that I go now, I drop the kids off to school. I will be homeschooling again next year though, but
Mm,
I go to the gym. So I'd have to really find a good reason to like go somewhere. Um, yeah, but I like to dance. Like before, I really loved to dance. So that was another thing that was suppressed. Like we weren't supposed to dance. We're not supposed to listen to, the devil's
the
music.
secular
And
music.
yes, my grandmother would, like, if a show came on, like Sanford and Son or something like that, and the theme song, she'd be like, like praying, the devil away, because she didn't even want to hear the theme song of a
Yeah.
show or something like that. So I never was able to dance. I wasn't allowed to dance. And so when I got in college, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even though I probably had curfew, I was out dancing in college. And it's so funny because now my daughter loves dance. And the space that I get to hold for her is that she gets to be who she wants to be. Like,
Mm,
especially in homeschool too, because we used to homeschool 3 years ago, or a couple of years ago for 3 years. And in Texas, the rules are very lax. And I mean, literally, like, we started off with, like, well, what do you enjoy? And then we went
mm,
down the rabbit holes of, like, theater, and all of that will branch into science. It'll branch into geography. It'll branch into history. And so
yeah.
I do that on purpose for her because I wasn't really able to, like, be who I was. And that sometimes made me really mad because, like, parts of me are, like, in their infancy. And I'm like, I don't know who I am in that part of my life.
Yeah.
So
Is
I
it
like
too
to
late
hold space.
though?
Oh no. I mean, I feel like, you'll always be developing and
Yeah.
knowing yourself. And so it's like a continual journey. I think sometimes there's like a fight between my brain and what I intellectually know to be true,
Hmm.
and then this other part that's just like, I don't know what I was taught. So, but I'm aware
Yeah.
of it, but it's still like a conflict sometimes.
Yeah. I understand. I definitely understand. It's like a mind, body, soul connection type thing and like trusting your intuition and all that.
Mhm.
And it's a skill. It's definitely a skill. And I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how I learn this, but I think it's just through like so much trial and error. Cause like I don't know if I like shared my story or if you know my story, but I was like right after high school, I enlisted in the military. I broke my hip during training, and so from that whole military experience, I learned like, can't nobody tell me nothing because like I wasn't even allowed to smile. And like that's crazy for me as like being
Um,
Bria. And so it's like, how was I not allowed to show teeth? I'm always laughing, I'm always giggling. And so like being in that like hyper strict and structured environment just broke my brain. I was like, never again. Nobody can tell me nothing. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna
mhm.
gonna do, and I'm gonna do it how I want to do it. Yeah, I don't have to explain myself to anybody.
Why did you decide to go? Because I would not think that you'd be a military girl.
So I was in JROTC like all of high school. So it was kind of like just being in that environment. And that was like my community. And that's where like I found my sense of belonging in high school. And I was like, well, what if this is like something I can continue? Because I already knew everything. I had learned things and I enlisted at a higher rank. And so it was like, let's just see. And then a real big piece of it, I love that you shared about how like you dated a guy and like it took you 9 years to get over him because like I dated a guy and I was running from him. And so I'm still in the process of getting over him. I always say, I'm over it, but like it's what, year 7? And I'm like, if it takes me 9 years, I'm okay with that. And so, yeah, I was running from my family and running from my ex at the time. And so that's kind of what got me to that place. Like, and I journaled about this. I was like, because I cry a lot. I do. And so I was crying in my journal and I was like, why? Like, why did I never get what I wanted out of my experiences? Like, how did I end up here? And I was like, girl, when you enlisted in the military, you wanted to get far away from home. I did end up enlisting and like going to boot camp outside of where I was. But from that experience, I moved across the country to live in Denver, Colorado. And so it's like maybe it didn't happen in the way that I thought it would, as like me getting stationed in Japan or going to South Korea or somewhere cool like that. But it was like I still created the distance that I wanted. And I think I referenced this in another girl chat, but like Under the Tuscan Sun. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but that movie is all about her like going through this like crazy divorce and like finding herself again. And she had these like huge desires for herself, but she didn't know how it would all play out. But like at the end of the movie, she was looking back like in hindsight and she's like, I got everything I asked for. Not in the way I thought I would, but this is like even more beautiful than what I could have even imagined. And that's kind of how I approach my life. I'm like, I don't need to understand it today. It's all going to work out. In
Mhm.
hindsight, when I look back, I'll see and piece it together like a little puzzle. And someone else explained it as like sewing a quilt. And how like right now you're making each stitch and it's like you can't see the big picture until like you're really done with the whole quilt. So I really liked it, that analogy, but I feel like I'm rambling. Don't know if any of this makes
No, you're
sense.
good. No, I totally understand. Like the full circle moment. And I feel like I've had some of those in my life, like the full circle moment. And then I know, because I can feel it, that there's other ones coming. And I'm just like excited, a little anxious. Um, but I know it's coming. Because I mean, that's just, I think, for me, I think of life as just like cyclical, just like the planets and the atoms,
Mm-hmm.
like everything is just like nature, like we're part of nature. It's just a cycle.
Exactly. You get it, Stephanie, you get
Yes,
it.
girl, yes.
And that's like, I can't remember exactly what you were talking about before, but you mentioned something about like how you were doing something or you were going through something in your life. And all I was thinking about is like how your body is going through a cycle. And it's like when you tune into like the cycle of your body, like your menstrual cycle, how your hormones fluctuate, and like eating certain foods and how that impacts your ability to sustain energy. Because like I have PMDD. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like PMS on steroids. And so my mood swings are like crazy. And so like I've been doing a lot of research about like how I can like help my body instead of being like, oh, I hate that this happens. And so they were talking about like eating antioxidants and all these citrus stuff. And like I actually did it for a few weeks while I'm in that phase in my monthly cycle, because it just comes. I call it the glitch. Every once a
Mhm.
week in the month I go through this. And so it's just like, how can I support my body in like this cycle that I'm going to keep going? Like if I'm going to keep going through this over and over and over again, like how can I make it easier for myself? And
Mhm.
so you were talking about self-mastery. That's what you're talking about. And it's like, I want to fully understand what it means to be in this body and like understand how my body works and how I can support it instead of working against it. That's kind of like how my brain thinks about life. I'm like, that's the whole point, to like
Yes.
get to know ourselves and feel like we feel good in our being and woo woo
Yeah.
stuff.
And I think too, I always say this to like clients, like they think they come to me for me to tell them to eat vegetables or like move more. And I'm like, this is not about vegetables. You're not paying me to tell you to eat vegetables. Like
Yeah.
this is about your relationship with you and how
Mm-hmm.
everything in your life is a mirror to how you're reflecting on yourself. And so I coach a lot of women who have a lot of negative self-talk. They're constantly comparing. They're super perfectionistic, and it's like all or nothing. And I've learned so much. It's really funny because the way that we get coached by DL
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like my mind drama about my business, it's like, oh, I tell my clients the exact same thing, but it's about health and like how they're supposed to, relate to that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I think that God can like teach you the same lesson, but in different scenarios in life. So I always find it really interesting because, like, oh, okay, now I can relate to like things that I'm telling my clients, like the undergoaling.
Love a good undergo. Yes.
I mean, and I tell my clients this all the time. Like, I'm gonna do 8 workouts this week, and I'm like, how about we just start with 2 because you didn't do any the week, like last week or the week before.
Yeah.
And in my business, it's so crazy how there's like for me, like sometimes there's a block, and then when I get it, and I'm like, oh, this is the same thing I tell my clients. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I feel about it as well, because I'm all about the little mundane moments. And it's like when you can be intentional about like your day to day, you will gradually get to the point in your life where things like make sense and you're living your life so authentically and you feel good. And it's like, what do you like to do in your everyday? Because like we have these habits, and like I challenge my clients to like be aware of them. And where it's like, I always have a glass of hot Earl Grey tea. I love that. That's what lights me up. If someone had to ask me like, what are my home hobbies? That's one of them. Having a glass of tea. Yes, that I just came up with that on the
I
spot.
am going to use that. I am going to use that. I got home hobbies. Okay. Yes.
Yes. And so it's like, that's what I enjoy. Like, as a homebody and an introvert who likes to stay in their home, like, that's something I enjoy, reading a book. And it's like, you don't have to go out to do, like, start with what you're already doing and just like notice that and like hone in on that and like cultivate the little mundane things that you're already doing. That's how I help my clients to like build on creating a more expansive life, because under goals, man, keep it small. You do this
Yeah,
already.
I know.
But I want to just give you an opportunity to share about like what's coming up for you. Like what are you working towards? What's in the near future, maybe far future, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with us today. But like, what's going on in your life and what are you working towards from this place right now?
So I mentioned this earlier, I'm preparing to homeschool again. So my daughter's going into ninth grade, going to homeschool her. And that's going to be a little bit more, it's going to be a little different because we have to be a little bit more structured and keep records and things like that for college. So I'm preparing for that. Working my business. I'm, doing one-on-one coaching, and I really want to move to group. And I know that like Gail has lots
Yeah.
about group, and I'm like, okay, but I really want a group. And so I'm the type of person, and this is why I am, I guess I identify as like a doer, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm an athlete, I like to clean. I like to structure things. I like dancing, right? Like
Yeah.
I like to do. And so I learn by doing. So it's really hard for me to just be like, hear somebody say, hey, like, no, this isn't better. I'm like, I have to experience for myself. Like I have to do it for myself. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you might be right. But I have to learn by doing. So what I would like to create is get enough momentum in my business where I can host group sessions, be able to homeschool my daughter. Just today, my son was sick, and so I've been at home with him all day. And I was really grateful for my business because
Mm-hmm.
I'm at home and I don't have to ask anybody if I can, get off. But I still felt a little bit of stress
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, there's more things that I need to do, and I know that doesn't go away, right? Like all that doesn't go away, but what I've really been journaling about and thinking about is being able to have a very simple model where I can host group sessions for ladies that are powerful, that are transformative, that are impactful, that are profitable, and it'd be very simple. And then I can really show up and be the mom that I want to be for
Mm.
my kids. Before, when we were homeschooling, before this was before the pandemic, we were gone every day doing something in an organic garden. We were doing iFly
Mm.
STEM program, like indoor skydiving. Like it, I mean, there was so much to do. So I like that kind of hands-on thing. And my daughter wants to be an entrepreneur too. So she's gonna have a couple of businesses when she's coming out of high school. So my life is my business. I love it. I get to support women of color, understanding their health, their body, realizing like the mindset blocks and like the trauma that they're holding on to, the story, the toxic stories. I get to hold space for them, and I love that. I love my business, and then I just want to be a really great mom.
Mm.
And if I think that's like my life goal right now is just my babies
Mm.
and my business. Babies
I love this so much. Oh, I like, I just have to take a moment to admire you because like as someone I know I want to have children one day. Right now it's a hard no. But one day, and it's just like just hearing you talk about homeschooling your kids and like doing activities and things, I'm like, this is possible for me. Like when I do decide. And just like, I think that's a really beautiful goal to like, you said your business and your babies. I love that.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like that'll be me one day. It's just about my business and my babies
Yeah.
and my
And it's
grandbabies.
so much simpler too than I would have probably expected my brain to come up with because
Hmm.
I feel like I overcomplicate. I'm a Virgo, and I be thinking about stuff.
My mom's a Virgo, so I can understand. And I have a Virgo moon, so I understand.
Yes, I be thinking. Okay, I be analyzing. I be scoping everything, and so my mind is always. But so the fact that you asked me that, and it was literally that simple for me, I'm actually in shock of my own self that I don't have like a million things, but like literally business, my kids, And of course, my own self development, obviously. But I feel like because of the way that I'm building my business, that's kind of a given. Like
Mm-hmm.
who I am growing into be is going to be the catalyst for what kind of business I'm able
Yeah.
to create.
Yeah. And then it's also just hearing you talk about your whole experience with your children. It has been eye opening into shaping your understanding of self. So, focusing on those two areas of your life, you will definitely blossom into the type of person you want to be, because there's so many pieces that will unfold and you'll learn new things along the way. And so, yeah, I'm just excited to witness all of it. And I hope everybody who's listening is just like, what? Stephanie's awesome. How can I work with her? How can I connect with her? So if you want to share any of that information before we wrap up, that'd be awesome. Where can the people find you?
Okay. So I hang out on Facebook most of the time. So I'm a little older. I know people are like, Facebook, but I have a Facebook group. It's called Weight Loss Plus Mindset with Coach Steph. And that's where I hang out most of the time. You can find me on my personal profile too, Stephanie Riles, Riles. I do have an Instagram though that I've been posting on a little bit more. I'm not overwhelmed with Instagram, but it's Fit Culture for Her. So the number four, it's all basically one word: Fit Culture, the number four, her. And I go live every Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on all of those platforms, just talking about nutrition, talking about mindset, fitness. I interview other people too, therapists. I'm about to interview someone about like eating disorders, um, body image, all the things that
Mhm.
kind of encompass wellness. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared. I learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone who's listening has found a gem of their own to take away for them. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to you. And for everybody who's listening, this is the point in the episode where you will be taking some time to reflect. So I know we talked about a lot, and I just want you to sit with whatever has come up with for you today. And so the next 3 minutes are for you to just sit with that, maybe pull out your journal and write. So there'll be some reflection prompts on the screen. And if you're listening to the podcast, they'll be in the show notes. So that's there for you. I want you to take this time to reflect. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you, Stephanie, for being here. And I love everybody. I have so much love, and I just want to give it to everybody. So I just want to say I love you, Steph, and I love everybody who's listening. And we'll see you next time. We'll
Thank
see
you. I love
Steph.
you too.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for having me. Like, seriously, I'm super
Mm,
impressed. And thanks for having me.
thank you. Happy reflecting, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everybody, I really hope you enjoyed today's girl chat. I loved having these conversations and I'm sure you're going to enjoy tomorrow's episode as well. But before you go ahead and click to the next girl chat, I want you to share your thoughts on this one. So you can go to the comments and share your key takeaways, what gem resonated with you, and just let us know your thoughts. And so, yeah, we want to keep the conversation going. We want to keep the girl chat going, even though it's over. But you can start the conversation down in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are listening on the podcast, I want you to go ahead and take a screenshot of this episode and tag us at DoulasBloom on Instagram and let us know your thoughts. Same thing, keep the conversation going, share it with a friend, let us know your key insights, your key takeaways, and yeah, I want to know your thoughts. How did you feel today's girl chat went? What resonated with you? So yes, that is what I want. And then I will see you tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow for the next girl chat, and I'm so excited about this series. So excited about it. So but I will see you tomorrow for the next girl chat, and yeah, I love y'all. Bye.